Well, good evening and welcome to this In Focus Candidate Forum on Whitewater Community Television's WCTV Channel 11. Yes, we are live. I'm Eric Marsh, Executive Director of Whitewater Community Television. Glad you're able to join us for a conversation about the clerk's office. Do you know what they do? We're going to find out, and we'll have a conversation with two of the three candidates that you will find on your ballot that are running for that office. We are joined by our partners, the Wayne County Area Chamber of Commerce and Hometown Media Group. Before we get into the introductions, a few things that we need to remind you. Time is running out. You've been hearing it for a few weeks, but you're down to just about your last week to get registered to vote. Voter registration does continue until October 7th. You can register at the clerk's office, 301 East Main Street, or you can go online to indianavoters.com and get yourself registered. You can also check your voting registration status as well as voter locations. That's indianavoters.com. You can do it on your computer, on your tablet, or even on your phone. You don't have to go out and get it done, so there's no reason not to make it happen. The day after that, then you can begin to vote. In-person absentee voting, early voting as it's called, will take place Monday from 8 to 5, Tuesday through Friday, 8:30 to 4:30, Saturdays on the 26th of October, and November 2nd from 9 to 4. We'll provide more information on that as it comes about, but early voting does start very, very quickly. Our next In Focus candidate forums, just as a reminder, next week we will have candidates running for Richmond Common Council, District 2 and District 3. There will be 3 people running for District 2, 2 people running for District 3. They will be here for 90 minutes next week, beginning at 6 p.m. Don't forget, audio replays of all of our In Focus shows can be heard on Sunday mornings at 6 a.m. on G1013, as well as 1490 and 100.9 ESPN Radio, 1490 WKBV. So they have that audio. Also, the following 2 Thursdays on October 10th, we'll be having candidates running for Richmond Common Council at large. And then on October 17th, the 3 candidates running for the mayor of Richmond office will be with us again. All of those next week, and the 2 following weeks will all be 90-minute shows. And one other thing that we want to throw in here, just because it's something, we got a press release today from State Senator Jeff Rotz's office. I had to go through this a while ago, and we are coming up on the 1-year mark. And we know if you don't hear it a lot, you may not catch up to it. There's this new thing called Real ID that's coming that will, if you don't have one, an ID with a star, driver's license with a star on it, you may find yourself not being able to get into some federal buildings. You may not be able to get on an airplane. There are things that you have to have, so you should actually go to realid.in.gov. There is a list of things that you should take in with you, and you need original or certified documents. And if you have been married multiple times and had a lot of name changes, you might need a lot more. So there are literally, and I am not kidding, there are a couple of pages of information, things that you can take in with you that you need to have. So that is something that you want to be aware of. I know you're saying it's a year off, but a lot of driver's licenses are going to come due, and even if it's not coming due, it's something you might want to check, particularly if you do a lot of flying. So that's just a little bit of what is going on. Want to welcome the candidates that are here.
Thank you.
Karen Chesty, running for clerk, and you have held that office for, I think we said 16 years now.
This is the 16th. Mm-hmm.
And Diane Whitehead, who is running for that office as a libertarian. Mm-hmm. Okay. And we are joined this evening by Stacia Viramale. How close am I?
Perfect.
Okay. We misspelled it on the opening, which I was told about a half second before we went on the air, which is kind of why I was laughing, because we went through some name things. Oh, this is going to be a fun hour. You're getting called out on the air. She is here representing our partners, the Wayne County Area Chamber of Commerce, and we're also helped out by Hometown Media Group. Thank you very much for being here.
My pleasure.
We're going to start by giving these ladies a chance to introduce themselves, just in case you don't know them, and we will start with Karen Chesty.
Well, I'm Karen Chesty, Democrat. I've been in the clerk's office. This is my 16th year. I'm a hometown girl. I lived away for a few years, but came back and couldn't wait to get back. My family's here. Well, there are a few in Indianapolis, but most of them are here. I love this city. I like what I do. The job's perfect. It's like if you wrote a job description for what I'm good at, that's what it is. Organization, research, I like that. So talking to people, I had someone tell me once I could talk to anything that moved, and some things that don't. So I don't know what else to tell you right now, but I do love it. So
Okay, thank you. And Diane Whitehead.
I'm Diane Whitehead. I'm born and raised in the city of Richmond. Lived here my entire life. I've got all of my family are close, so this is one reason I want to stay here. I've had a wonderful opportunity to work for the city for 20 years through the police department. And you know, it's 20 years, it's time for a change, and I was looking around at what might be my next move, and I thought, well, you know, I think the clerk's office might be something I might like to try, so that's where we are.
Okay. As I have the last few weeks, I'll kind of jump in periodically, but I'm going to let my co-host handle most of the questioning this evening. So, Stesh, we'll let you start.
Okay. Well, thanks for being here, ladies, and thanks for having me. So let's talk a little bit about the clerk's office in general. There are a number of responsibilities in the clerk's office. Tell me about two of them and describe how you feel your skill set makes you the best person to fill that role.
well, obviously, we go to the Board of Works, Richmond Power and Light, and council meetings, and we have to get all of their information together for them for the meeting so they know what they're doing, and take the notes at the meeting and write the minutes. That's one of the major responsibilities, but archiving has become a huge part of what we do. It's grown since I've been in the office. We probably have maybe 50 years of documents online now that you can find yourself. You don't have to call the office. Mostly ordinances and resolutions, but if you get into contracts, we're starting to do that also. That's a never-ending job.
Okay. I kind of looking forward to like the people side of it. I think a lot of people come into the clerk's office. That's their first and only opportunity to ever interact with the city building or the government as a whole. You know, the bus passes, the huge bus pass traffic, probably 200 or so a month. Same with parking passes. That is, you know, that involves the public, and I like to interact with the public. So the different people coming in, that would seem like a fun thing.
Okay, great. All right, so each of you are running as a representative for your party. How do the views of your party affect the role you would play as clerk? I'll let Diane start with this.
I am running on the Libertarian Party. I think, you know, I feel like anyone who wants to run for an office in their city, in their town, in whatever township should have that opportunity, and that's what the Libertarian Party gave to me. I think if or when elected, what you do in that office, I kind of think party goes out the window because you work for the people and you work for the administration, no matter what your party affiliation would be.
Karen?
I think Democrats work for the working people, and we obviously have the working people that come into my office and really need our help. It's not just for the, like Diane mentioned, the bus passes and the parking passes, but they don't know where else to go sometimes. So they come into our office and we try to direct them or help them. Obviously we can't give legal advice, but we can certainly find out where they need to go next. We don't want to just give them a bunch of stops to make. While they're there, we'll find out where they definitely need to go. And I like that, helping people that really need the help.
Fantastic. All right, so you started to allude a little bit into this about how things are changing. How do you handle the ever-changing technology of the 21st century?
It's interesting you say that. We do alarm permits, and there's close to 2,000 alarm permits in the city, and we always keep a database, and we've used an Excel spreadsheet, and we have a paper copy, and we've been streamlining that just in the past month or so because it's wasting too much paper. And then yesterday, we had people from the administration come in and say, we're going to put this all online. We're going to have it available to people at home. They can fill out this and print out their permits and do it from home. And I'm sure there are a lot of older people that won't be able to do that, but I think it's great. I mean, it's going to save some trees, a lot of trees, and we'll have to get used to it also because we'll have a different role to play. But that's just one part of it. We've been using the computer so much more than they did in the past. When we came in, there were times that there were sheets that were printed out and they'd fill in with pencil and then they'd type it into the computer. They wouldn't let the computer do the work. We've come a long way, especially with the archiving. We have a program called Laserfish. It's a document management system. And if we can put documents on there, my deputy will put all of the documents that are going to go to council as pending. And if somebody wants to go or see what's going on, they can read that. And then after it's passed, then we put it in the final file, you know, on the computer. But it's just too much to even tell you. But it does. It's wonderful. I like it. It's wonderful. And I'm learning a lot of things about a computer.
Good. Diane, how about
And
you?
the city's also gone to a new recording and receipting program, so that saves a lot of handwriting receipts. And because when people come in, that's time consuming. So now everything that comes in, you put it in the computer, it tracks it, it sends it where it needs to be, and all we have to do is account for the money. So I think that probably would make things a little bit easier. I like doing things on the computer and keeping databases and that kind of thing, because it's easier to look at it and follow up on it. If you need to know something that happened, yeah, if you need to, you can do a report at the click of a finger instead of going back through all of your records and tallying, you know, like we used to do. All your receipts, and then you go back and make sure everything balances and matches. So I think that's the way of the future. We've fully embraced that in the entire city building, and I think it's easier for a lot of people.
When we were talking earlier about the alarm permits,
Right.
This is oversimplifying it, but they can go online. We plot it with our GIS program so that dispatch can send the fire or police to where they need to go if they have questions about it. This will do it for us. They'll fill out the application, they will put all of their information in, they'll submit it, and it automatically goes. That will save an enormous amount of time.
So is this something that Google Maps comes into play, or what do you know?
I don't know if it's Google Maps. It's just what is it, geographic information system with the county
GIS.
through the
Got it.
dispatch.
Got it. So that eliminates some human error, you think?
I think
Oh,
so.
I think so.
I hope so.
That's great.
Is this home alarms, business alarms, both? Who can
Both,
sign up for this?
Both, It's just if you have an alarm system, you are supposed to have a permit. And that way, if, let's say the fire and police show up, there's a card or
Right.
something in your front window that will tell you who they can contact. But with the GIS, it also has that information in there, so they can be contacted immediately. It could be your monitoring company, friends, relatives, you know, just whoever they need to get in touch with, but it'll all be right there in the
When
GIS.
that alarm comes in, they just automatically notify key
I know.
holder and emergency contacts. It's nice.
Yeah.
You're watching the In Focus Candidate Forum on Whitewater Community Television's WCTV Channel 11. We're speaking with Diane Whitehead, Karen Chastain, who are running for clerk for the city of Richmond in the general election, which is coming up. Stacia Vermally is our co-host today, sitting in for the Wayne County Area Chamber of Commerce, our partners in this, along with Hometown Media Group. Follow up.
All right. All right. So how about, and a little bit of the technology piece is, you know, playing into this, but as far as the office itself and how things are being handled, how do you feel that you can improve the efficiencies within that office, Diane?
Well, I think the technology goes a long way. Like you mentioned before, it does sort of eliminate some of the operator error type of things, because there is check and balance, and it's check and balance on a daily basis. So I think by having that, I mean, that you still have to have the people. I mean, the people that come in, you still have to have the personal greeting and the, you know, someone to take care of whatever reason they came in the office for. But the technology part of it, I think, makes it just a lot easier. It just streamlines the process so much. Everything, like Karen said before, everything before had to be handwritten. There were files and files upon files of paper, and we at the city building don't have a lot of storage left for file upon file upon file. So by going the way of technology, that's just going to save a lot of time, effort.
And I'm going to ask a little piece on that. How do you ensure that, and Karen, maybe you might to expand on this a little bit more. When you're scanning in these documents and putting them in, how do you ensure that they're actually in that database and that the hard copy can be eventually destroyed?
We don't destroy them.
Okay.
We have all of the original ordinances. We have, if you go into my vault, there's 200 years of history.
Wow.
And you have to archive them into these very
Bound.
large books, bound books. And if you go back to our charter, they're in like that calligraphy kind of writing. You know, they're really fun to, if you go into research one thing, you find yourself drifting off. I'm sorry, I think I interrupted you.
No, you're fine.
And so we still keep them. All of our minutes, we have hard copies of those, and plus they're printed into a book to archive, plus they're in Laserfish. Now, the only acceptable archiving medium is microfilm. And we have not put a lot of them on microfilm, but we can do so through the state archiving, and they could do that for us. It costs us, but you know, we can do that. And then you can always hold a microfilm up like this and
Sure.
read it if everything else goes dead. So, yeah.
Diane, did you have some pieces you
that's-
wanted to add to that?
No, because I know when you talked about how do you know it's there, it's easy to, you know, the website for the city is pretty navigatable, and it's getting easier every day. So you can go in and even, I mean, I don't know what things you can and can't destroy, but you surely wouldn't keep every piece of receipting and all of that
Receipts
forever.
are something
but
we can get
to
rid
know
of.
that it was there, you could look before you ever, you know, had to destroy it. But
Right.
Receipts we had to keep for 3 years.
3.
Okay.
And then we could get rid of them, so we just had them in boxes. But now
Right.
with the new accounting system, we don't even have to, we don't
Right.
write them out. That we print out one, but it's in the system. So
Sure.
I hope it never crashes.
I hope not.
That's always the thing, isn't it?
I'm always
not.
afraid of it. It happened to us before, you know,
Sure.
where 30 or 40 years of archiving went down the drain. But I think they've improved it.
Great. So any other ways that you see that some efficiencies could be improved outside of the technology
Well,
piece?
every girl in the office knows every job. So if no one's there, we can always continue, or we can help. You know, if someone's overloaded, we can always just jump in and help. So I think that's a more efficient way of running things. Some things I don't like to do, but you know, if nobody's there, you do it.
Right.
Sure, sure.
City government is always looking for ways to cut money in the budget. They're always looking for that. You have a 3-person office?
3-person office.
Do either of you feel that you've talked about technology, you've talked about making things more efficient, you've talked about making things easier. Do you feel that you could, with the way things are getting better, technology is going, that you could bring that office maybe down to 2 people and still be as efficient and as customer friendly? And I know that that's something that both of you have mentioned.
We've never closed our office. There was one day that we closed because a lady that worked for us or with us died, and we went to her funeral. We don't close during lunch hours, and with the 3-person office, it's easier to do that and to be there for the public because they will come in, well, a lot of times at lunch hours, and our office is closed during lunch, but we're not, and I'm proud of that. But I do think the 3-person office really helps with that, and to be able to deal with someone that's having a problem and they're upset or whatever, and then the other people can take over and do what they need to do. So I don't think 2 people would really handle that very well.
No, I think you need 3. I mean, I really think you do. Especially, it's nice that everyone's interchangeable, that can do what everyone needs to do, but each person also has their own individual work that they work on. You know, their specialty. The front desk works pretty much on payments and code things that come in, bus passes and that kind of things. And then deputy clerk does a lot of the archiving, and I think you need 3.
The girl in the front desk is an ordinance violation specialist. So that's what she does mainly. Any ordinance violation payment that comes in, she's the one that takes that, makes sure it's credited to the right account and voids whatever the guys need to void. But we do exterior maintenance, we do the police department. There are all kinds of ordinance violations, and we take care of those.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're watching the InFocus Candidate Forum on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV Channel 11, talking with Karen Chesty and Diane Whitehead, who are running for Richmond Clerk. If you have a question, feel free. You can send us a call. You can call us, 765-973-8587. Also, we're on Facebook Live, so you can send a comment that way, or through Twitter at WCTV Info.
All right. So what other initiatives or ideas do you want to work on if you're elected?
I remember, and Karen kind of touched on this, when I first started working at the city building, out of the clerk's office came a lot of information and referral. And like she said, they like to go the extra mile and kind of help people with what they need. So I think that's an important step because, like I said before, that is sometimes the only stop to people that come into the city building, whether to pay a fine or to pay a violation or to buy a pass or whatever they might come in. That might be their only option for the city building. So the more information that we can have at hand to give people, then I think that would benefit the public as a whole. There used to be a whole book of things that information and referral would put out. 211 is a great tool, but a lot of times if let's say a person doesn't have a phone and they come in for a bus pass, they may need to know where to go and what resources might be available to them, and that would be a good spot for that to happen.
We do have a list in the office of food pantries and where meals are served each day of the week, and where they can go for specific help, like the trustee's office, Salvation Army, or whatever. But the 211 is nice. It kind of took the place of that book. We were updating it, and we even thought about being the 211 center. Now it's a regional thing, but all the people have to do is call 211 if they don't have a phone or don't have a way to do it, or if they wouldn't understand what was being told to them. We'll call it for them and ask the question and say, this is what they've said and this is what you do, and we'll write it down for them and help them, because we do have all walks of life, and some people are a little bit more challenged than others. So,
Could you explain a little bit more what 211 truly provides to the public?
it's a referral service for any kind of, like I mentioned before, the food pantries, the clothing, housing, utilities. If they need help with anything, the 211 has a resource for it. They may have more than one, and it depends on where you live. They'll have a number of places that maybe do the same thing and what's convenient for you. So, and it's just like 411's information and 911's for help, and 211 is for human needs.
Sure.
It's a great resource.
So is it actually manned by humans, or is it
It's
artificial?
humans.
It is.
Not voice recognition. I think that's a big thing to point out, because I know a lot of the intimidation around
Sure.
calling those numbers is that, oh gosh, I
bumped
don't want to
around.
speak to this
Right.
computer that doesn't understand me. So that's why I
Right.
wanted you to explain how that that works and how it's helpful to the public.
And it is helpful. I think the United Way has been involved with funding it. Years ago, Salvation Army was a little bit involved because they kind of do the same thing, but then when 211 came along, they went together, and this is a good thing. So,
So you feel that it's fairly consistent information then that's being spread throughout these different agencies and government
Right.
entities as well.
right, and churches.
Absolutely, fantastic. So let's look at this, because of course we're always looking at the future and how things could move forward. How might this position change, if at all, depending on who is elected mayor?
Well, that's a great question. I don't know. The position of clerk, I mean, there's always going to be things that has to happen in the clerk's office, like Karen said, the keeping of the records, the common council meetings, the board of works meetings, all of the contracts, all of the everything that goes through there. But as far as other things that could come through there, I mean, like we've said how many times, that's a point of contact for so many people. So I think there probably could be some other things that happen out of there. I've always been involved with neighborhoods and always will be involved with neighborhoods. So if we can, catch people as they come in and maybe strengthen that organization as well, I think as long as we all work together, the clerk's office has to work with every department in the city, every department. So, like I say, there are certain things that has to happen, but I would be open to any suggestion that any mayor might have to make how we might strengthen the partnership between the mayor's office, the city building, and the clerk's office.
Great.
Actually, the mayor's elected and the clerk is elected, and we have totally different responsibilities, and we really don't work together that much. I mean, he has his things or she has her things to do, and we are, the state code dictates what we do. We have to follow the law. We have to make sure that we're doing things exactly the way the State Board of Accounts says we have to do it, much like the Controller's Office. And in the future, I think it's still going to be whatever the state law changes. But I think we do everything nobody else wants to do. You know,
That's what comes through my.
That sounds like a fun job.
Well, it's really okay because,
duties,
because we're good at it, you know? And I think the historic knowledge of somebody being in that office for a while, too, helps because we've got new counselors.
Sure.
And
Right.
if we have an issue that comes before them, oh, wait a minute, I remember we did this, this, and this. And so you can pull those documents out and make sure they have access to that so they understand the history. And that helps. But as far as working together, I think that they are bound to give us an office. That's the one thing that they have to do. They don't have to do anything else. We're kind of on our own. I said, sometimes I feel like a stepchild. And I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just that we're separate from the rest of them, but we interact with them. Does that make sense?
Sure. It seems fairly neutral in terms of what you
You
have,
have
to do.
to
You
be.
just have to deal with all these different, the
You have
unions,
to
the
be.
agencies, right? Sure.
And as far as the different parties, that goes away.
It does.
You
It
have
has
to run.
to.
You have to be labeled when you run. But when you're in office, you represent everybody, and you
Everybody.
have to work with everybody and just throw that away.
Right.
We have
So
to
I
work
guess
together.
the people coming in from the city are not going to care.
They don't care.
They
They just
don't.
want their issue
And a lot of
handled
times
or
they're not
Exactly.
affiliated with
addressed.
any party. They just need
No,
what
yeah,
they
we
need.
don't know
and
what they are,
They come
yeah.
in and we fulfill that need. So
Absolutely.
Before you go on, you're watching the In Focus Candidate Forum on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV Channel 11. I said that you could send in a question. We do have a question from Facebook.
Great.
So before we get to your next one, we'll go to this one. Whoa. Commissioner meeting minutes are a matter of public record managed by the clerk's office. That most are on the city Laserfish site. However, the park board meeting minutes stops online at 2012. Why is there no oversight to ensure that these online records are maintained, and how can that be corrected?
Each department is responsible for putting their own minutes online. The sanitary district, the plan commission, BZA, anytime there's a commission, it's really their responsibility to do it. We do Board of Works, we do RP&L, and we do Common Council. And that's really all we can do. I mean, we don't have them sometimes. We're supposed to have a hard copy. They're supposed to send them to us. We're supposed to have every bit of minutes in our office, but we don't always get them. So if the park board doesn't have them on there, I think they ought to call the park board and find out why.
Okay, but the clerk's office is supposed to have a copy of all of these minutes?
Exactly,
question mark.
exactly. But I send out a memo and tell everybody, remember, you know, you're supposed to send them to us, but I can't go get them. If I don't have them, I don't. I can't do anything with them, so.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So there's no legal ramifications for that
I
anybody that we know of?
suppose it could be mentioned to our mayor, and he could say something to his department heads to ensure
Got
that
it.
they do it.
Okay.
So maybe I'll talk to him about
That's
it.
another one of those separations
It
of
is, it is.
you're an elected official, the mayor is an elected official, he or she has all of the other city departments underneath them.
Right, they work for
And you really
him.
have no control there.
Right.
Yeah.
I can tell them the city code says I'm supposed to have them, but it has to
But
stop there for me.
You're not the enforcer in that.
Exactly.
That's, I guess that's the word. All right. So this is probably the most important thing that I'm going to ask, and I'm sure we'll have some other questions moving forward. But what is the one thing you would like the viewers to consider when going to the voting booth?
Well, I think it's the most important thing is to go to the voting booth and to vote
good.
because you know, we have a lot of people that are registered to vote and so many people don't vote. But I think people need to look at the candidates, get to know who they are, kind of for themselves decide who they think might be the best fit for what the office might be. But the most important thing is vote. Be involved with your community and know who your candidates are and what they can bring to the table.
I think there's so many of our meetings that are televised now, there's no reason why citizens can't watch them and get a feel for what each representative, how they feel about something and how they vote on something. And then if it represents what you feel and you believe in, then that's the person you need to vote for. But you do need to vote. That's a biggie. And you do need to read the ballot, because there are ways now that, like, if you're, can I go into this straight party voting? If you vote for, hit the thing for the straight party, you still have to go to another column to vote for the at-large candidates.
That's true.
If you vote straight party and a little flag comes up or something like that and you think you're finished, you're not. You're skipping a whole group of people. So just pay very close attention to that.
Good point.
I've got one. I actually, on last week's In Focus, had a chance to have a conversation with Debbie Berry, Wayne County Clerk. One of the duties that can fall to the clerk is the ability to marry people. And I'm just curious. We've heard how it's worked in a lot of different places. She mentioned that she does not do it, and she mentioned why, and she was able to explain why she chooses not to marry people. I know that you have, but I'd like you to speak to why you do, and are there any caveats, restrictions on who you will marry, and if you are elected, what would be your stance on whether that's something that you would take on, and if you would have any caveats, restrictions on that? Karen, we'll start with you.
I don't. I've done over 2,000 weddings since I've been in office, but I do make them make an appointment now so that I know that I can be there, because if someone just walks in and I'm not there, I can't do it. And that became an issue a few times, and I won't go out of the building to do it. I've been asked to go to, Thistlethwaite Falls, or, just some really strange places, and I don't think that that's really appropriate. I think if they want to come to my office or in the city building, I'll do it. I've done same-sex marriages. They're citizens, and I can't say that I'm not going to do that. I won't marry cousins. They can't get a license.
They've tried?
There have been. And there are people that will come from Ohio. And we've just had some really interesting situations. But for the most part, these people are really great. I'm glad I've met a lot of different people. We've cried when some have left because they're just sweet and older and were high school sweethearts, and now they're single again and they got married. I mean, it's touching, but no, I don't have any restrictions on it. I just feel like it's one of the responsibilities I have. I don't have to, but we do. But we do have a matrimony bureau. We didn't used to have that. So there are two leagues that I belong to, the International Institute of Municipal Clerks and also the Indiana League of Municipal Clerks and Treasurers. And you learn a lot when you go to the conventions. And we have education weeks up at Ball State. But one of the other clerks had created a matrimony bureau. And that's one of the reasons for having an appointment also. They think about it. They're not just rushing in and saying, and we had that happen one time, we're going to the airport. We decided to make it a honeymoon. I thought, what thought went into that? And it's not for me to judge, but, just personally it kind of bothered me. But so making the appointment helps. But we charge less for Richmond residents because we serve Richmond, and if you're from out of town, we'll still do it. But it's just going to cost you a little bit more after you get your license. So does that answer your question?
It does.
Okay.
I would not be opposed to marrying people. I think it would be fun. And in the city building, we've kind of looked forward to Wedding Wednesday, as we like to call it, because you might be walking through, going to one office to another, and there's people in the lobby and the rotunda of the second floor, and we think, I wonder what's going on today. And then we think, it's Wedding Wednesday. So it's fun. It's fun to have that in the city building. And so, I would not be opposed to doing that at all.
Met some very interesting people.
Yeah. We had a wedding on Halloween last year, I think.
I don't remember all of them, but I do know that.
With our decorations and things.
That's right. Yeah. Yes. And the mayor can do them too. He has done a few, and if he's available, I think he likes to do them. But he doesn't charge. My office is the one that the code says that we can charge, but he doesn't. So if you want to get married, go to him and get it free.
But I was reading the law. There's a lot of things that it says your office has to do without charge.
Oh, yeah, everything else. Everything else. Notary, And we don't charge for that. Any oaths of office that we do for any of the boards and commissions and the police and fire, that's just part of our
Part of the
job.
job.
Okay. Have we exhausted your question, Liz?
Yes, we have.
We're going to do something a little bit different because it is rare that we have a chance to actually find out what the clerk's office does. This is an elected office, but if you were to ask the average person what the clerk is truly responsible for and what they do and how they would like to see things change, it's hard to find that out. So we've kind of gone through all the questions that we can ask about the clerk's office. We're going to take a break, we're going to come back, and we're really just going to have a conversation. And we're going to learn what actually happens in this elected office. So we're going to take a break and then come back to the In Focus Candidate Forum on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV, Channel 11.
It's volleyball sibling rivalry as the Indiana University East Red Wolves host the Indiana University Kokomo Cougars in another exciting River States Conference matchup Friday night in the IU East Student Events and Activity Center. Come out and support the hometown IU East Red Wolves. If you can't make it to the gym, catch the match live beginning at 6:55 on Wayne County's Education Access Station and TV home of the Red Wolves, WETV, Channel 20.
When we look at public health preparedness, we look at the overall health of the community during a disaster. When you look at a public health disaster, there are numerous things that people can do to take care of themselves. And whether that's good hygiene, washing your hands for at least 20 seconds with soap and warm water when you touch things, not touching your hand to your face, but also if you look at a long-term public health disaster, you will make sure that you have a great family disaster kit available, meaning that you have at least 72 hours worth of food, water, medications, those daily commodities that we need to live off every day. The best thing that you can do in a public health disaster is to stay informed. Listen to your government officials and what they suggest. If there's vaccines that we need to get or medications that we need to get in a disaster, make sure that you have those. But more than anything, make sure that you are educated, that you are prepared, and that you are well informed through the agencies that are helping to help you.
Girls Inc. of Wayne County inspires all girls to be strong, smart, bold.
Through interactive girls-only programming.
Kindergarten through 8th grade. Come join us at Girls Inc.
Hi, I'm Melissa Vance with the Wayne County Area Chamber of Commerce, and I'd like to invite you to join me for the next Chamber Chat. We'll be talking with Valerie Schaefer from the Economic Development Corporation and Brenda McLean from Hometown Media Group.
Day to Wayne County. So it's been a great partnership with all three entities.
Tune in Tuesday evening at 8 p.m. on WETV.
Welcome back to the In Focus Candidate Forum on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV Channel 11. I'm Eric Marsh, Executive Director of WCTV, and glad you're able to join us for this In Focus Candidate Forum. We're going to kind of do something a little different. We've kind of gone through the question answer. We're going to go into a little bit of learning, I think. Some people will go, oh, I know this all, and we're sitting here having a conversation going, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. So we're going to learn. I'm joined by Stacia Viramale, who is representing the Wayne County Area Chamber of Commerce, our partners in this, along with Hometown Media Group. And we're joined by Karen Chasteen and Diane Whitehead, who you will find on your ballot running for Clerk of Richmond in the upcoming election. Don't forget, you can register to vote until October 7th. Early voting begins October 8th. One of the things we're going to do, and I said it heading out, and I think we all believe it's true, we really don't know what happens in the clerk's office. And we haven't had a chance to find out in forums like this because you've had the office for a while and normally you run unopposed. Diane, you've been in the Richmond Municipal Building, you said 20 years with the police department, so you're in and out and you're very familiar with this. So we're just going to throw out some questions and figure it out.
Okay.
You've both talked about the customer service aspect of the clerk's office. Where does that come from? Is that in statute, or is that just something that you all believe is important, an important part of being the city clerk?
I think it's very important in the city clerk's office, but in every city department, because customers, that should be our number one when someone comes into the building, our customer service, how we treat people, what experience, do they have a pleasant experience? A lot of times when people come to the police department, it's not for fun. A lot of times when they come to the clerk's office, it's to pay a fine or a code violation or something of that nature. So it may not be, they might not be there for pleasantries, but how they're treated and how how we interact with people could say a lot about how their experience may end. So I think customer service, I mean, there are things that have to be done through the clerk's office, but in every office, I think customer service should be number one.
I agree with that, and some people will come in and they're really upset. They think they've been treated unfairly. Correct. And they shouldn't have to pay a fine, and of course we can't do anything about it, and we'll refer them to the person that wrote the ticket. But sometimes they just want to vent, and you just have to listen. Just let them finish it, and then maybe interject something that, you've been in a similar situation or something, and you start talking, and it turns out that it's diffused the situation. And or you can find out more for them if they don't understand something. We give them copies of ordinances or the city code if it relates to whatever they're asking, and we just give them a copy of it and say it's in here, and maybe show them the particular section and let them take that with it and read. So
it may be something they just don't understand.
Exactly.
And once you can provide an explanation as to why it happened, it's a little bit easier to take.
When you decided you wanted to run for clerk, both of you, I mean, you decided at some point, what about the position attracted you to it, and what does it actually do? What is the clerk's responsibility?
There's a lot of organization. There's a lot of dealing with people, all the departments. I like research, and you get a lot of that if you want to. And just the responsibilities of the clerk fit me and what I've done in other jobs. I've been a paralegal. I've been the director of the Alumni Association. I've worked for APCO Ordinance Division. There are top secret things there, so you just kind of have to work along with it. And just everything that I had done fit the responsibilities of the clerk's office. So I thought I'd like to try it, and I was lucky enough to win by 69 votes.
A wide margin. You say your vote doesn't count?
It does. Well, look at John Kennedy's.
It does.
Yeah.
So that's really why. It fit me.
But what does what do you do? What does the clerk do?
Okay. As we said, the minutes, writing, you have to organize your office. You have to make sure that, you can be a boss. I don't like to be a boss. I just like to be a coworker. Make sure everybody's got their responsibilities finished, or fill in if they don't do them. But like we've said, we do, and I do it too, alarm permits, dog license, parking permits, bus passes. Like Diane said, it's over about 250 people a month that come in just for the bus passes. And
that's almost a full-time job right there.
I know, you have
just
to really relate
that.
to them and really take care of them and make sure that they're okay and their bus passes are done. And then we have the meetings. We have to get ready for the meetings. We have to make sure every ordinance is online and ready to go, and send packets out to counselors, and that's for RP&L and Board of Works and Council. And that takes a lot of time. It's just the weeks of the meetings are really the most busy, when they meet the first and third this time we have 3 weeks in between. I love it. And it just gives you time to catch up on everything
that fifth
else.
Monday. Yeah, we like those too.
Yeah, I know you do. So I don't know even how to explain. It's just day to day, and it changes. A department may be having a huge project, and they need to research something that happened 100 years. Let me give you an example. RP&L. We're going to get their license plates for their vehicles. And this is about 10 years ago, and they called and they said, the BMV wants proof that we're a municipal entity after all these years. And I said, okay, so I started researching it. I found April 19th, 1915 was when council approved taking over RP&L.
Wow.
So they use those minutes to get their license plates, but that takes time to do the research, and you just have to stop everything and do it. So there are a lot of times that happens. If the sanitary district calls and, well, we really need to research this because we're going to put a sewer in someplace, and there are other projects that have taken place along there. So you get the books out, and they come in, and you help them find what they need. That is a big part of it. But I like that. I get lost in those books.
Okay. Got anything I know you were asking about?
Well, I was going back to some of the irate situations that stuck with me. And I know I've worked so long with the public as well, and I know I've encountered my own experiences. But have you ever felt unsafe in that building?
No.
Ever?
No, never.
No. They do have a panic button that goes down to the police
Comes
department if we need
downstairs.
them.
Good.
And you know, and we have one in council also. You know, there have been some instances with city councils, and we have a sergeant at arms there now though too. So no, I feel safe.
Great.
Yeah,
It's
and
a
we are the
safe
first
building.
office they come to.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah, and no, I mean, there's been some people that have been a little crazy, and we've had people that have come in, and I know that they've had troubles in other offices.
Sure.
But they've been very calm in ours, and I think it's because we're calm with them. We're not nervous, we're not afraid of them. We just give them information that they need, and they leave, and it's okay.
A lot of times people take their cue from your attitude, from the way you interact
Exactly.
with people. So if you're going to be calm, cool, and collected, eventually they'll come down to your calm, cool, and collected.
But I've also told the staff that there's a vault right there. If you feel scared, go in there and shut the door.
Right.
Talk a little bit about the fiduciary responsibility in that office, because you've talked about people coming in, paying fines, buying bus passes. There's a lot of money that flows through that office. What is the mechanism for following, handling all of that money and getting it to, where does it go from you? Do you physically make deposits as the clerk? Does it go
We used
to the...
but we
Right.
don't
Every
now.
department that takes in money has to, we've got this new recording system where you input all the information, and the controller's office has the information immediately. So at the end of the day, you count your money, and then the next morning usually you take it to the accounts receivable person, and they count it, make sure it's okay, and then the next you just collect more money. So each day you empty your money.
With the system that we have now is nice because we don't
It's
have to
very
do
nice.
an individual recap sheet
Right.
and do it manually.
It does it for us.
Yeah, your receipts are in there. It tells you how much money you should have in cash, how
Credit
many
cards.
checks you should have. We don't take credit cards yet, but
Oh,
Is that coming?
I
we
hope.
do downstairs, and it's I love it. I think
I've nagged for 16 years.
Why is it that you do in one part of the building, not in another part of the building, and what would make it possible for the I would think for the amount of money that you're saying is collected, what would it take for the clerk to be able to do that? Is that legislation the council has to pass? Is
Kind
that
of.
something you can do on your own?
I think other departments take it, and there was a time when I could have, when they had a contract with a company that did our website, I think, and they had also the credit card capability, but they were charging a really high interest on every
Right.
transaction, and I didn't want that to come out of my budget. If it could be a user fee that you could tack onto it, I think that's fine. And people don't mind doing that. It's convenient. I do it every time I pay my water bill, or
Sure.
know. But until they change the ordinance, that I can do, we can charge user fee, and it's set up that way for me, then we will do it, and I would love to do it. But it's just step by step with this new system.
How does that work when you see something, or as the clerk or potential clerk, what is the responsibility that you have to create or go to someone to create an ordinance to make that change? What does that look like?
I can write my own ordinances and submit them to council. The law department does not work for me. They work for the mayor and his department heads.
The clerk actually can hire an outside attorney if necessary.
Yes, and they're obligated to pay for that. You know, it doesn't have to be in my budget. It's just an additional appropriation for that. And I have hired an attorney a couple of times. But normally we don't need it. If I do an ordinance, then I try to run it through the law department just to make sure, but usually it's a template or boilerplated somehow so that it's pretty routine. And I've not had any problems with them, so. And I would like to do that with the money and the credit cards, but that's a bigger picture that the controller's office is involved with, and they're the major money people, so I just kind of am biding my time, and when we get this next hurdle through, I hope that it'll happen.
What's the next hurdle?
We were talking about the alarm permits and getting all of that information, and then that's a huge, huge project. And I really want that to happen because it's going to save a lot of time, a lot of money with time and supplies. We've been mailing so many reminders to people, and I finally said that earlier this year we're not going to do that anymore because it's a 2-year cycle. So we've been sending notices with people, or with our reminders, that we're not going to do this anymore. You're just going to have to contact us when you're ready to renew. And then now the city, I don't know who's doing it. Well, it's the BS&A is the company that we're using for our finance system. And it's the program we'll be able to use to do this. So I'm letting that happen first. It'll streamline that process so much, and I just have to pick my battles.
You're watching the In Focus Candidate Forum on Whitewater Community Television's WCTV Channel 11. We're really just kind of having a conversation about some of the things that take place in the clerk's office. We're joined by Diane Whitehead, Karen Chasteen, who are both on the ballot running for the clerk, Stacia Vermaele, who is sitting in with us as a member of the Wayne County Area Chamber of Commerce, their representative. We're also joined by Hometown Media Group, who is a part of this. Dominating the conversation. Do you have a question here?
It's okay.
Jump right in.
I will jump right in. So I know we talked about security, and you explained that piece. And you talked about earlier how people make appointments for marriages in particular. Is there any other reason that people should schedule a visit with you, or is it pretty much in a walk-in basis?
Yeah, usually a walk-in. The weddings are the only ones that, unless it's a meeting of some sort, you know, that you have to take part in. But no, that's the only time. And I only did that because I want to make sure that I'm there if these people need me. But I do have meetings that are outside of the office, and you know, you just can't guarantee it. I will say, though, that we don't charge, and we will do a military person on the spot. If they come in and they want to be married, we'll do it right then. I just think we owe them that.
Okay.
Makes sense?
We had also talked a little bit during the break, just amongst ourselves, about the notary piece. And this affects more people than we can imagine in the community. I know I ran into it before where someone's asked me to notarize something that I wasn't permitted to do. And can you explain a little bit about the types of things that you are able to handle?
You wanna take that?
Sure. Well, I know downstairs, people come in all the time. I notarize a lot of things for the officers. You know, a lot of times they don't have time to go to the bank, or I mean, it's hard to find someone that will notarize. So as long as the document's in front of me and it's a legal document and I see them sign it in front of me, then I have no problem notarizing the document. And as Karen said before, we don't charge because the city pays for us to become notaries. It's already been paid for, so we just do it as a service.
Okay.
It's pretty much in our office. People will bring documents in. They don't have to make an appointment for it. They just come in and I really need this notarized, and my deputy does it, because in the past I couldn't notarize. I could attest the documents, but I couldn't notarize a document. But the state code has changed, I found out recently, so I can do both. And I don't need to be a notary if my deputy is right there and she's a notary.
Great.
So, and we do anything as long as it's appropriate and it's legal, you know.
And I think there are several of us in the building that are notaries, because a lot of times people don't know where to go to get documents notarized. And if we say we need a document notarized, we say, oh, by the way, we can do that for you right here. So.
And I think it sounds like the misconception would be is that it has to be something city oriented
No, it
to
doesn't
bring
at all.
in. And
Not
from
at
what
all.
you're telling
As long as
me,
it's a
it's
legal
literally
document.
anything that could require a notary, as long as it's
We've done car sales and, you know, title transfers and wills that need to be notarized or other
Sure.
legal documents
power
like
of
that.
attorney documents,
Yeah.
things like that. That's great to know, and I know a lot of people appreciate hearing that.
So we're going to have a lot of people coming in now.
Sure.
It's all my fault. And
See a lot of people.
That's okay.
Diane Whitehead and Karen Chasteen, thank you both very much for
Well,
being
thank you.
here.
Thank you.
Best
It's
of
fun.
luck. The election is coming up. Stacia, thank you very much for being here also.
Thanks for having
Appreciate
me.
it. Hopefully you'll come
You're
back
in
and do
LA?
another one of these
Sure.
with us.
Sure.
Okay. Want to remind you again, both of these ladies are running for Richmond Clerk. You can find them on the ballot if you're registered to go vote, and we do encourage you to do that. You've got until October 7th to get yourself registered to vote. Once again, voter registration ends on October 7th, Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 4:30, but you really don't have to worry about those hours because you can do it online at indianavoters.com. Early voting begins on October 8th. You can do that again at the clerk's office, 301 East Main Street, on Mondays from 8:30 until 5, Tuesday through Friday from 8:30 to 4:30. There are a couple of Saturdays also listed there. If you need more information, you can go to the Wayne County Clerk's website. Next week is our In Focus Candidate Forum with candidates running for Richmond Common Council, District 2 and 3. On October 10th, we'll have Richmond Common Council at large, and on the 17th, City of Richmond Mayor, 3 candidates running there, and all of those programs will be 90 minutes. Busy weekend around the area. A couple of things you can get involved in if you want to walk. There's a walk to end Alzheimer's actually happening here on the IU East campus from 9 until 1 this Saturday. There's also a birthright walk happening on this Saturday. That is from 8 until 10. Hagerstown is having their fall festival this Saturday from 10 until 2. Crafts, food, vendors, a whole lot more going on. And you can find out more at Heart of Hagerstown at Comcast.net. It is the last evening at Elstro. Hype is doing karaoke in Elstro Plaza this Saturday evening. That's going to be a lot of fun. Richmond Civic Theater is having Jungle Book. That is happening on Saturday and Sunday. And also this Saturday, e-waste recycling happening here on the IU East campus. They didn't do it last month, so if you've got some old electronics you're trying to get rid of, that would be the place to do it this Saturday from 9 until 12 in the Whitewater Hall parking lot. Be sure to look for replays of this program on our video on demand site, WGTV Online, and we will be back next Thursday at 6 p.m. Thanks for watching. God bless.